I'm here in Medjugorje, and I'm with, what's your name?
Sharon.
Sharon, where are you from?
Originally Ireland, but I have lived in Australia for, well, I went there 28 years ago. I married my husband, and then we spent 2 years in Ireland and returned to Australia.
He's Australian originally.
He is from Sydney, yes.
Australia. So long time. You know, a lot of people, they look for a long-lasting marriage.
Yes.
How? What is the secret?
Well, we just on May the 1st, St. Joseph the Workers' Feast, we celebrated our 26th wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is hard, but I made it very clear to my husband that if he was to marry me, that was one time only, and he was marrying a Catholic. So he had to remain married to me.
Wonderful. Clear statement.
Yes.
And he's Catholic as well, or?
He was a Baptist. And when he went to Ireland, my mother was very much about him getting baptized. So he wasn't baptized when I married him.
Yeah.
So she obviously prayed for him and was encouraging me to talk to him about baptism. My faith was not really strong. I believed, obviously, and I went to Mass, but I had that idea the faiths were all sort of the same. But I did want him to be baptized. I thought that was very important.
Yeah.
And actually I prayed about it, and we were living in Sydney at the time. Once we came back from Ireland, he did start an RCIA in Ireland, but it was a bit wishy-washy. He was a bit wishy-washy. And we came back to Australia, and we had a group of seminarians visit us in our parish in Ashbury in Sydney. And we had one of the seminaries stay with us because we had enough room to cater for that at the time. And it gave him an opportunity to talk to somebody about Catholicism. So with that, we also had Cardinal Pell visit as part of the seminarians coming to our little area. And he gave a wonderful talk one Sunday, and it was just before he was, the night before he publicly announced that he was going to be a cardinal.
Wow.
Yes.
Goosebumps.
And I'd never seen him before. I'd never met him before. It's only a small little church. And he gave it the most wonderful talk. I was really taken by his talk. It was so professional.
Yeah.
And I'd never really seen that in a priest before. And part of the night was adoration.
Yeah.
And we were invited to present petitions in writing and to put them on the altar under the host. And I had a number of different things. But the first one on my list was for my husband to be baptized. So no, it wasn't necessarily in the Catholic Church. And that was a Sunday. And 1 week to the day, the following Sunday, my husband announced that he wanted to be baptized into the Catholic Church.
Unbelievable.
Yes. However, so being a Baptist, there was a lot of things that he couldn't relinquish. And to this day, there is a psychological barrier to marry. So I've really tried to pray about that. He's just nervous of adoring false gods. His family, his parents are very avid Baptists. So they were not real happy about him marrying a Catholic because he thought we were all going to hell. That's what he thought.
But we have to be honest, this is just brainwashing. It's a lie.
Well, that's what it...
we have to say what it is. It's brainwashing.
Yes, it is. And it's so tragic and
it's
sad.
So tragic.
Oh, my goodness.
We have to say, honestly now, because they write it on the channel. And it's just like they are falsely educated. And then who is going to hell? We who are in the truth, or they who are falsely educated?
Yes.
It's projection.
But look at the destruction that it has caused for so many years.
And we are loving, we have no problems with, they don't like if we say Protestant.
Yes, that's right.
They hate if we say Protestant, but it is protest against the Catholic Church.
That's right,
But it's not that we don't love them, but we have to, in love, speak out the truth. That's what we do here.
Yeah, for
sure. And we are not worshipping Mary as a goddess. She's the role model. No? Explain Mary. You explain. You can explain
Mary,
it. You know it.
Well, look, my mother, who I just rely on to intercede for me. I'm a daily rosary sayer. I mean, I just love her.
Yeah.
I love Jesus so much.
Yeah.
And I'm as devout as I can. And every moment I try and say Hail Marys. I try to, unceasing in my prayer all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Mary has brought my family here, which is just a miracle in itself.
You said you came with 7 children, right?
No, not
How
quite.
many children?
So I have 4 daughters.
Yes.
With my husband as well, makes 5.
Yeah.
But my eldest daughter is married to he's a baptized Anglican, but has no understanding of the faith whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So look, really, myself and my husband, we were never big earners.
Mm-hmm.
However, we had a house fire less than actually June 2 years ago, and we lost everything. And we really needed a lot of help to get back on our feet. My husband is adopted, and he knows his birth mum, and we're good friends. So we needed financial help. So Greg's parents helped us out. His adopted parents helped us very significantly. But his birth mum, she was helping us out a little bit. However, she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So she became very generous. And she's got a great result. We prayed for her very hard. And actually,
we all pray for her now.
Yes, Jenny.
Please pray for what's
pray
her name?
for Jenny.
Jenny.
Yes. And she has had a really good prognosis since, but she had an 18-month prognosis prior to that. But the results are looking really, really good for her at the moment. However, she felt very generous, and she basically treated my husband as her son that had lived with her all her life. So we managed to purchase a new home. Now, the home we'd originally purchased, it was a timber frame, hardy plank, very pretty, but it was in ill repair. We needed to spend some money to fix it. And my prayer was that we knew what to do with the house. So we either renovated, extended, sold, knocked it down, totally confusing what to do, with no money. So we were really at a loss. So of course, the whole place went up in smoke, and it was devastating, absolutely devastating. And we didn't know what we were going to do. But then the parents support us. The house was also on sand, so we live near the beach in Sydney, on the mid-north coast of New South Wales, in a beautiful town called Forster, Forster. The R's are very silent in Australia. So we were built a timber home on sand. What we've ended up with is a 2-story brick home built on top of a mountain, which is rock. It's all rock. It's very difficult for gardening.
Wow, you give me goosebumps. That's biblical. You got something better out of the tragic.
It is actually biblical.
Yeah.
And we overlook our beautiful town. It is absolutely stunning. We look out at our bridge, which is a twin town with another town called Tuncurry. And we look out at the lake, because it's a Great Lakes area, and there's lots of lakes and islands. And we look out to the mountain range as well. It is stunning. It's exactly where God would want to be viewing our town.
Wow.
It is just extraordinary. So that, I believe, has come about because of the many petitions to Saint Joseph. So big ups for Saint Joseph. And that's one thing you have to do if you pray to Saint Joseph and you get what you're praying for, is to promote Saint Joseph. So I'm promoting Saint Joseph big time.
Why Saint Joseph? Can you explain a bit more about him?
Oh, now you're getting me there, really. Yes, I really should know more. But look,
but you from the heart.
Honestly, I heard about Saint Joseph and how generous he is, and particularly in financial things, Saint Joseph is really good. And the petition sort of was started. There's a friend of mine in Australia, and she's a big fan of Saint Joseph. And I think she was the sort of start of it. That was Rosalie, my beautiful friend in Victoria, Australia, and she started or hinted about St. Joseph. My sisters in Ireland are quite devout, and they also promote St. Joseph. So I was actually getting St. Joseph from a number of different areas. So everybody was praying to Saint Joseph for me.
And for you, that's what came to my mind.
Yes.
Your sisters prayed as well.
Yeah, well, my sisters actually did novenas. I know at least one of my sisters prayed every night for me and my family because it was so devastating. We lost so much, you know, and she prayed every night to Saint Joseph. That was Jackie. And I think my sister Linda also prayed to Saint Joseph for me. And they prayed together.
Yes.
So they do a lot of online rosaries.
Somehow.
Yes, yeah. So he definitely came through with the goods. And I mean, we don't actually even have a mortgage now, which is extraordinary.
Yeah. And look, you were faithful. You went through the test and you got something much better.
Yeah.
You learned as well. If the door closes, God has something better for us.
Honestly, after it happened,
yeah,
Greg, my husband, he had an immediate conversion. So he's had little conversions all the way along, but that was a big conversion. He immediately could see God in it. So we were very strong for a long time. We then started to falter towards the end because we were living in accommodation, which was very tricky with the kids, and it was just like a granny flat because that's all we could manage to get. And it was hard on the family. And it became to where very thin with the family. We were in such close proximity with one another. So that was like June when it was the end of June, the 30th of June, when the fire happened. And then my 17-year-old daughter had quite a bad motorbike accident. And that was a huge issue for us too. And Tom, it's a miracle. Like she was going, the cop said she was going at least 60 k's an hour because they had it on video. And she ended up hitting the back of a car at that speed in shorts and a t-shirt. She had a helmet and she span. She hit the ground and her arm took the full force. So she crushed her elbow and all the bones in her arm. She also did some damage to her knee and her shoulder. But she is lucky to be alive with limited damage. She's had to have a couple of surgeries since. She hasn't got full mobility, obviously, in her arm and may not be something she'll ever get back. But yeah, it was just such a difficult year. I mean, we really had a lot of tests, you know. But the great thing about the end of the story is we've got the beautiful home, and we also had a little left to either spend on curtains and carpets.
Yeah.
Or do a European trip. We were debating whether to do it. It was still a massive investment for us. I got word of a family reunion. We only have one remaining aunt. Our last uncle died very recently. So my brother, Tony, was arranging a family reunion in Ireland. So that was the go. That was the sign. Let's try and do this. So we traveled from Australia to Ireland for the family reunion. And we traveled to Rome for 3 days, 4 nights, because I wanted to show the family the history of our faith. And then next up, Medjugorje, where I am remaining hopeful that they will experience their faith. We had the wonderful privilege of Father Damien, who said Mass today.
Wow.
He is a friend of my nephew's who was ordained a Dominican priest at the age of 30 on his birthday.
Wow.
September 12 months ago. And he's now in Trinidad and Tobago.
Wow.
With another wonderful priest called Jesse Mango, Father Jesse Mango, who's another wonderful priest. And Father Damien, obviously, is a Dominican too, so they all know each other very well. Very well. So Father Damien, my sister told me, Jackie, she told me that Father Damien was here. So Father Damien came to see us last night. I arranged it. And he had a little chat about his testimony, which, you know, was a really wonderful testimony. And we all went to confession, which is wonderful because my kids are lukewarm. Very hard to get them to confession couple of them out
It's
with
a
anxiety.
journey, you know, it's a journey.
Yeah, well, even
Look at yourself, maybe how you were before at the
oh,
beginning.
I mean, I look at them and I say I was
Catholics,
exactly the same,
yeah.
the
I
same.
have to be honest how we were.
Yes, but even my daughter's husband, he went and spoke to the priest too. So, I mean, that in itself, I mean, it's a miracle. It's a real miracle. So I'm very grateful to be here. I can't believe that my family are here. My whole family are here in Medjugorje. I've had some wonderful experiences here. I've had my own little miracles, profound miracles. Oh, look, it's hard. I'll tell you, I'm not sure it will, because it's my own personal experience. It's hard to say how valid people will recognize it. But when I first came, I actually had a friend who I met on Facebook through Church Militant. So we were involved with Church Militant. And he reached out to me because he lived in New Zealand, I lived in Australia, so it was relatively close. We got chatting, and over time we grew in our relationship. And he actually brought myself and my friend Lucia and another friend of ours, Peter. Four of us were skeptical about Medjugorje. Oh, well, actually, Lucia had been here before, but myself and Neil in New Zealand, we were skeptical. But I think I was open. I was hopeful that it was true. So we came with our skeptical hats on, and we attended an apparition with Mariana at the Blue Cross, and that would have been 2019 in March. And, you know, I'm watching Mariana, making sure like what she's looking at and it's true. And anyway, during the course of our stay here, myself and Lucia, we had different experiences. One night we were staying in an apartment that belonged to a nun actually in Ireland. And during the night, I woke and I felt a holy presence in the room.
My brother had the same.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
so
same.
look, I just said a couple of prayers and I fell back asleep. But when I got up the next day, I told my friend Lucia about what I experienced. She goes, I experienced the same thing. So it was like Our Lady was passing through our apartment, which was wonderful. Another thing that happened was my husband was home and he had an operation on both his feet. We didn't realize that he wasn't going to be able to look after himself while I was away. So we had a friend of his come and help him, sorry. And one time I just had this profound sense of love for her. Now, she's not my daughter. You know, I know her very well, but it was unusual for me to have this profound sense of love for her. It was like, I just love Lauren so much. And she's an atheist too, but once I discerned what it was about, I truly believe it was her mother showing me how much love she has for all of us. It was just an exceptional experience. It was euphoric, a real standout experience. You know, so they were the two main experiences. I had other little things, but yeah, they were just wonderful experiences. Yeah, it was amazing.
And when you looked at Miriana at the apparition, how was that for you? You were carefully looking?
I was carefully looking. I was trying to look at her eyes and see where she was looking. Was there a focus point on the cross? Just to try and discern. Yeah, just to discern whether it was true, you know. But, you know, being here that first time and just experiencing what I experienced, I was like, I truly believe Our Lady is appearing here, you know.
And is here, no?
And is here, yeah. And I try, as Father Leon says, you shouldn't be coming here looking for signs and wonders. I can't help myself but come and, you know, hope, because my experience was so profound the first time. I did come back looking for signs and wonders. And I have to say, particularly bringing my family, and because they're so lukewarm in their faith, I'm hoping.
But don't talk too much about this. I would.
Yeah, I know. And Father Leon says that. I know. Yeah.
Everything against it is for it. How did my aunt said to my other aunt? No, you were the same. I was the same. And I even said, man, it smells Catholic here. And I left the place. St. Nana said, man, I have to leave this place.
Wow. There you
I was
go.
completely like leaving alone.
How long ago was that, you remember?
10, 12, 13 years ago.
Oh, right,
I said,
okay.
this is for Catholics, this is for farmers.
Yeah.
This was
Well, my husband.
I'm illuminated and they are not.
Yeah. Well, my husband has.
Actually, it's the other way around. These Catholics are illuminated there, but how
Yes.
they illuminated, they are in the presence of God and they reflect the light of God in their life.
Yeah.
Their joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My husband has described this place as the Phuket for Catholics.
Or I call it like the Israel for Catholics. If you have been in Israel, everybody wears the kippah.
Yeah.
And they're proud and they're very,
Yeah.
everybody wears the rosary, which is our kippah in a certain way, and pray openly and show their faith.
Yes, yeah. But he likes he can see the Mass, how wonderful that is in comparison to what we have at home, and the singing and the wonderful homilies, of course. So he really recognizes how wonderful all of that is, and the church, how beautiful the church is. But of course, he's looking across the street and he just thinks tacky and that it shouldn't be far.
A friend of mine did the same. And
yeah.
He bought something as well. He wanted to take
I
something
buy. Yeah.
These shops are only here because pilgrims buy something.
Yes, of course. And look, people have to have business and they have to have lives. And of course, so I get that. I do get that. Yeah.
And so the first time, so it changed a lot your faith. But you said you were before already changed, I have the impression. What happened in your life that you became less lukewarm and more on fire? I see you on fire.
Yeah, look, I went to London as a 21-year-old and it was not good. I had no money and I had a boyfriend there and there was all sorts of trouble with that, which I won't go into. But I came back pretty sad from London and I...
Past life, rock and roll.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it was. And I honestly was afraid. Yeah, I think most people experience that. I was actually afraid because, you know, being an Irish Catholic, I was afraid I was going to hell. That was my biggest fear. So I went back to Mass when I came home. And honestly, God opened his arms to me. It was so obvious that he opened his arms to me and I felt the love of God very quickly.
How?
It was the warmth, the welcoming, the presence, the being in Mass, the being at the church. It's kind of hard to describe, but I really guess it's down to that discerning as well. You realize that you are being welcomed back with open arms. It wasn't about me going to hell. That's why I went back. But I felt the warmth of God when I returned. And look, still the slippery slope along the way. But I always went to Mass on Sundays. The real big change, which has led me to go to Mass every day when I can, and daily rosary and everything like that. I actually worked at my local church in a place, and I worked there for 8 years, and never had any problems. But there sadly was a priest that I worked with who, I don't know whether I should say, you know, this is a public video, you know, but I was
just what you feel from that.
Yeah, look, honestly, my work became very difficult. He made my work very difficult. I believe I was psychologically abused every day in my job, crying every day. We even tried to get mediation. I pray for him, that priest, all the time. I think something has happened to him, and that's why he was treating me the way he did. I was very popular at the parish. I don't think he liked that too much. I don't really know why, but I know that it happened to other people with him as well. So whatever's gone on for him, some of the people in our parish suffered the consequences. But I was the first, because when he arrived, I was the first to suffer the consequences. And I would talk to just a couple of people. I wasn't believed, because he was very charismatic. So it just got so bad that my husband told me, just go, just leave, which was hard because we really could do with the extra wage. So I ended up leaving, and the Lord put in my path a group of beautiful ladies who had a prayer group called Our Mother's Love,
Wow, I heard about that. Yeah, keep on going.
And they gathered every week to pray. They understood my situation and they welcomed me. And then I got into praying the rosary every day, and just definitely more in line with my faith. So the consequences of the bad relationship with the priest at the church was it opened a door to these beautiful women.
Again, look, you had this challenge with your house. You got the better house. You got the challenge with the priest. You see the pattern?
Yes, I certainly do.
You're a powerful woman in faith, and we get the
I do hope so, yes. Yeah.
You're on fire.
Yeah, oh, I'm on fire. And what's interesting, my sister Jackie, she's in Ireland. I'm in Australia, either side of the world, yet we have grown in faith. Equally, I would say. We are both on fire, as my other sister are too, but I guess my relationship with my next sister is very close. So it was just interesting to see that we both grew in our faith. Now, her son is now a beautiful priest, and she's her husband died when he was 33, so Father Callum was only 2 when he died. But my parents were daily rosaries and mass attendees. We used to pray rosary as children.
With you?
With us, yeah, with us.
How was that for you as a child?
Oh,
growing up,
couldn't
having
stand
to pray the rosary?
Yeah.
Every day?
Look, I think when there was nothing on the telly, more so, but very, very frequently we played the rosary. We could have said it every day. I'm not sure. My recollection is not great on that. But yeah, no, I was not interested in saying the rosary. Absolutely not.
It's a bit boring for children.
Yeah, very. Yeah.
But look, also for the priest, somebody said, because they blame it on the Catholic Church, then this was an individual with his weaknesses. You have your weaknesses, I have my weaknesses.
Yeah.
Not to excuse if you know, but it's the responsibility of that person, not of the Catholic Church.
Absolutely, yeah. I would agree.
Somebody explained it very well. But then everybody puts it on the Catholic Church. Not true.
That's right.
It's the person who did something. And that's his responsibility, not of the Catholic Church.
Well, we're fallen, all of us. Even if we are priests, we're fallen, you know.
Especially you have to pray for them. No?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I've got a big list that I pray for. I just added Father Damien to that list. So,
beautiful.
Yes, of course, yes.
And you pray the rosary yourself now?
Yes, I do, every day.
Not boring anymore?
No, I love my rosary. Well, I'm very fortunate, as I say, to live in a particularly beautiful part of the world.
Yes.
I've got the most gorgeous dog, Manny.
Wow.
He's a border collie, a cream border collie. He's just the most gorgeous dog, Manny, as in Emmanuel. God is with us. And I bring him for a walk every day to our stunning beach, and I pray my rosary with walking my dog.
Must be a saintly dog.
Well,
he listens to the rosary.
Yes. Oh, he knows when I get my rosary beads. He knows. He knows it's time for a walk when I get the rosary beads out.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And what is the effect of the rosary for you? Why do you pray it now every day?
Oh, look, honestly, sometimes I can't not say it. I'm at a stage where I can't not say it. But once I say it, once I start, I'm real good, and I just can't not say it. That's the thing with the rosary. I hate to miss a day, and if I miss a day, I catch up. But I always feel guilty about not saying my rosary. But I've definitely grown in my devoutness and my attention to the rosary. Like I really pray my rosary from my heart. So it's very effective for me. I believe it's protecting my family. I believe it saved my daughter Alice. So that's why I have this fear of not saying it,
The accident.
Well, the accident is phenomenal. I mean, I just don't understand how she wasn't killed, really,
Because the rosary prayer.
Rosary, yeah. The rosary.
It's a testimony for the power of the rosary.
Yes, yeah. I can't not say it. I love it. I love praying for my heart. Like sometimes I get really tired. Or I'm rushing, or I'm not in the humor, and it can be hard. But by the end of it, I'm happy. I know it's saving my family because I'm here. The fact that I'm here,
it's all your family,
is a testament to the rosary, I believe. yeah, so I wouldn't go without saying it. I wouldn't go without saying it.
What would you tell people? You know, Medjugorje is called the confessional of the world.
Yes.
For you, confession, you go regularly?
Yes.
What is the beauty and why not be fearful?
Well, it's interesting because one of my daughters particularly does suffer a bit of anxiety. So she finds it really hard to go and she doesn't know what to say. And I try to help her through that. For me, going to confession, like I know sometimes I bring some sins that I don't really want to tell, but I tell them anyway. I mean, I feel that relief after. I feel fixed after, ready to start again. So I think it's important to go. And look, I think we need to have that humility to go. And that in itself, to encourage or to force yourself to go when you don't want to, I believe is more effective. And I would say the same for Mass. When you don't want to go, that's the best time to go to Mass. And that's what I teach my kids too. If you don't want to go, you should definitely go then. And it's the same for confession. And obviously the more you go, the easier it gets, you know. But it's a wonderful sacrament and we know it's underused. And there's no queues for confession. But I understand, like I know the priests don't care about your sins. They hear worse sins, I'm sure. But they can't, I don't think they're retaining them. I don't think it interests them to retain them.
I made so many interviews, they all say the same.
Yeah. I mean, why would you be bothered, you know?
Yeah.
It's like people think other people are interested in them. And really, people are not that interested in you, you know? So that's the thing. Look, confession, I go at least once a month. I do the first Saturdays, of course, too. So I go for that as well. Yeah, I mean,
explain the first Saturdays of the month. What is the promise? Why do you do that the first Saturday of the month?
Well, I can't remember who that's from actually.
Sister Faustina?
Sister Faustina, is it? Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not 100%, but I know that we were asked by Our Lady to do the first Saturdays. And the first Saturdays is to attend Mass, to say Holy Rosary, to reflect for 15 minutes on Scripture. And actually, I would point out, and not a lot of people know, but on YouTube, you can actually get 15-minute reflections, meditative reflections. So if you can't just meditate on a mystery, there are great reflections to look at on YouTube where they will take you through a meditative reflection on all of the mysteries. So you can pick a mystery and reflect on that. Also fasting, I've heard you should do on first Saturdays too. I've been fasting on Fridays and Wednesdays. So fasting on Saturday has been a bit of a trick for me. So I haven't actually done that, but they do say fasting also on the first Saturdays too. And look, you know, I'm sort of at a stage where I want to just pray all the time. I just want to save my family. I know that Our Lady is asking us to pray more. So the first Saturdays for me is another opportunity to devote that day to my mother in heaven. Yeah. So that's why I do the first Saturday. And of course, there's a couple of us in my local church and we gather. So it's nice to gather with other people and pray rosary. And I bring my phone with me so that we can all listen to that reflection after Mass. So we have Rosary first, then Mass, and then we have the 15-minute reflection. And of course, confession. So confession is you got to do confession within the week of the first Saturday. Yeah, but it's very cleansing. All these things are strengthening us and making God more obvious. The Holy Spirit comes and he gives us knowledge. You know, we see the world in a different light. We see things that people don't recognize. And having that knowledge, well, it's wonderful, but you can't, again, translate it to other people if they haven't got the same thing. I really think we are given knowledge. I really, truly believe that because I'm thinking of things that I'm recognizing things that are wrong that I wouldn't have originally recognized were wrong. And yeah, it's a gift of the Spirit, you know? Yeah.
How is it for you when you live in the intention, thy will be done? You are more in peace and more in joy. Surrender,
divine will. Yes, yeah.
Can you describe that process a bit for you?
Oh, well, it's submission to God, and just completely giving everything to him. He takes the driving seat and you relinquish everything for him to look after.
Yeah.
Just like we did with the house. And both myself and my husband did that. We relinquished everything to God. I was very much in the divine, working towards being in the divine will at that time as well. So it was just giving everything to him. You know what you're doing, God. Thy will be done, fiat. And it's up to you. This is all supposed to happen to bring us closer to you. And it has. And now my family are here, and I know Our Lady's going to work in that. It may not be today. It may not be next week, next month, next year. But eventually Our Lady will work in them, bring them home.
Our Lady, no?
Yes. Yes, of course, yes, yeah.
She's bringing everything to her son. That's her role, no?
Yes, well, that's what I prayed for what to do with the house and for the salvation of my children and my husband.
Wow.
And it's all coming to fruition.
It's such a beautiful testimony to listen to that, you know?
Thank you.
And so, in general, what would you say, people? What is the beauty of the Catholic faith?
Well, it's evidently the truth. The presence of God is in the Eucharist. And it's true. And we need it. We need it for our souls. We need Eucharist for our souls, food for our souls. I've just done too many retreats, learned too much about my faith not to believe that it is true. The Catholic Church is the one true church.
Founded by Christ.
Yes,
and
Christ, yeah.
You have a Bible scripture you like a lot?
Not real good at my scripture, I have to say.
Just from
general
concept.
It's interesting because when I met my husband, him being a Baptist, I thought I was on a winner because he was quoting Bible chapter and verse. And I thought, whoa, this guy knows his Bible. Sadly, it was a bit of a ruse because he had learned his Bible in Sunday school and he was made learn Bible chapter and verse. I guess one of my favorite verses is, and again, here I go ad-libbing, it's not going to come out the way it is in the Bible. But the devil is like a roaring lion. Ready to pounce you, like be sober and watchful.
Yes.
That verse. Be sober and watchful. You probably know it, Tom.
No.
Oh.
But we just have to be alert all the time.
Yes.
So important.
Yeah.
But
and the fullness of God, obviously John 1, the fullness of God. Oh, I'm terrible. I've got a very bad retention.
What do you mean by fullness of God?
The fullness of life is through God.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just
true.
so hopeless. Yes, yeah.
The fullness.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, that's the thing. If you really want a full life and you want to know what's really going on in the world and how people think and how people are and the difference between good and evil, being in relationship with God makes that very evident. Because he shows you, like I remember a nun saying to me, what do you know about God that you haven't read in a book or somebody has told you? And that's what you have when you're in relationship to God, that it comes to you. The knowledge comes to you, you know, as we were saying earlier.
Somebody said in Spain, a good friend from the church, it's the religion of revelation. You get the revelation.
Yeah.
It's the path of revelation.
Yeah.
And we get through the sacraments, we come to the fullness of God. Like Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, the
life. Yes.
Through me to fullness.
Yeah.
Favorite saying, you got one?
Favorite saying?
Yeah.
Mother Teresa.
By her? Of Calcutta.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Yeah.
Actually, a friend of mine from Sydney worked with her.
And what did she say? How was she?
Oh, well, look, he did some financial work with her, actually. But one of the things that she said was, if you're judging, there's no room for love.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah.
Beautiful, no? That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And why would you tell people now they should come to
Medjugorje?
Yeah?
Because you need to see it to understand it.
Yeah.
As a skeptic originally myself, you got to come and experience it but you got to immerse yourself in it. Look, I would, given that I've been here 3 times and not been on a pilgrimage with a group, I really would come with a pilgrimage, because they'll show you where to go and what to do, and they'll take you through it. I've kind of come on my own bat, and I think I'm recognizing now that really I should come with a pilgrimage.